Okay, so let us start the lecture. If you recall, before mid-sem, we had started looking at functions of several variables. We defined the notion of differentiability. Then we gave sufficient conditions for differentiability. And then we looked at higher order partial derivatives and stated a theorem that the mixed partial derivatives are equal whenever the first order and the second order partial derivatives exist in a neighborhood of that point are continuous. The next stage of analysis in our course is similar to that of one variable. We'll start using these notions of differentiability and so on to analyze maxima and minima for functions of several variables. So let us start defining what is called local maximum and local. So given a function of several variables defined in a domain D and given a point x0, y0, we say f has local maximum at the point x0, y0 if what should happen? There is a neighborhood of that point so that the value at that point is bigger than or equal to value at every other point in that neighborhood. So same as one variable. So let us define. So we say a point of local maximum x0, y0 if there is a delta. Say that if you take a open ball of radius delta and take all points of the domain inside that neighborhood, that should imply that value at every other point in that domain is less than or equal to value at that point. Right? In a neighborhood, the value is the largest. That is local maximum. And similarly, local minimum, and that value is called the local maximum of f at that point. Similarly, point of local minimum, if the value at that point is less than or equal to value at every other point in that neighborhood. It's clear? So for a function of several variables, same definition, only the notion of neighborhood has to be properly interpreted and defined. So that is open wall around that point. So let us look at examples. Supposing your function of two variables, z is equal to fxy, looks like this, right? Then you can already see that this is a point of local maximum, right? So this point, the tip, is a point of local maximum for the function. So one such function you can define easily. So you can define the function to be f of xy is equal to minus x square plus y square for all xy belonging to R2, right? Minus, then it will go down. If you don't put minus sign, where will the graph be? There will be up, and the point 0, 0 will be a point of local minimum, right? So simple examples of local maximum and local minimum for functions of two variables. So if a function is of three variables, same definition. Only the neighborhood will be a open ball in R3 at that point. Okay. Now, like in functions of one variable, the important thing was the condition that if a function has a local maximum or a local minimum at a point, then and if the function is differentiable at that point, then the derivative is equal to 0. That was a function of one variable. And that also gave us a method of finding points of local maximum and local minimum, because those are the points where possibly the function can have local maximum or local minimum. So similar thing we want to do it for functions of two variables or three variables. So we'll state the condition for two variables. So this is a necessary condition for functions of two variables. It says supposing f is a function of two variables, okay, and u is any unit vector. So if a function has a local maximum or a local minimum at a point x0, y0, then the directional derivative of that function in the direction of the vector u at the point x0, y0 should be equal to 0 for every direction u. In every direction, the rate of change should be equal to 0. Something saying that it is linear, right, in that neighborhood. Okay. In particular, that will say that if you take u to be equal to 1, 0 and 0, 1, so in particular a necessary condition for a local maximum or a local minimum at a point x0, y0 for a function of two variables is that both the partial derivatives, if they exist, they must be equal to 0. Is it clear? For function of one variable. So let us prove this. The proof is quite simple. Proof is actually of one variable only, because what is directional derivative? After all, directional derivative is only rate of change along one direction only. So it is a function of one variable essentially, right? If a function has a local maximum at a point, that means at every point in that neighborhood, the value is the largest. So in particular direction also the value will be largest, and when you analyze rate of change in that direction, that should be equal to 0 by function of one variable case. So that is essentially the idea. So let us write the proof. Supposing at the point x0, y0 there is a local maximum, then if I look at the direction x0 plus t u1, comma y0 plus t u2, so I am looking at the variation of the function along, values of the function along that direction in a neighborhood. So that should be less than or equal to f of x0, y0, because the function has a local maximum at the point x0, y0. And what does that give me? That gives me, if I subtract from this and compute the directional derivative. So what is directional derivative? It is limit of f of x0 plus tu1, comma y0 plus tu2 minus divided by t going to 0. And t is positive here, so and that being less than or equal to 0, so limit will be also less than or equal to 0. Proof is perfectly similar to one variable case. There also we showed if a function is differentiable, the left derivative, which is actually the derivative, is bigger than or equal to 0. Similarly, derivative is less than or equal to 0. Same proof is working here because we are only moving in one direction. So by using the fact that this is the point of local maximum, this condition gives you that numerator is negative. So for t bigger than or equal to 0, if you take the limit, that limit is less than or equal to 0. So, and similarly, if you take t less than or equal to 0, then also gives you that this is bigger than or equal to 0. So that two put together tell you the directional derivative in any direction at that point must be equal to 0. So as a particular case, I said, if you look at the 1, 0 and 0, 1, that will give you that the partial derivatives are also equal to 0. So this is a very useful criteria for checking when can a function have local maximum or local minimum at a point. So the possible points for a function of two variables where it can have local maximum or local minimum, right? And provided that derivatives exist at that point, are necessary conditions are that the first derivative at that point is equal to 0, right? With respect to x, the first derivative with respect to y is equal to 0. So this gives you a possible candidates where the function can have local maximum or local minimum. Perfectly similar to one variable case. If a function of one variable has a local maximum or minimum at a point x0, right, and the derivative exists, then the derivative must be equal to 0. So it's a perfect analogy with that. So let us remark that this is only a necessary condition. This is not a sufficient condition. So let us look at some examples. Look at the function f of xy equal to x square plus y square, right? So for this function, both the partial derivatives exist or not? Square root of x square. So when you go x positive or x negative, you'll have to take absolute value of x. So partial derivatives don't exist, but you can easily see that this function has a local maximum or local minimum. What does it have at the point 0, 0? Local minimum at the point 0, 0. So it has a local minimum at 0, 0, but the partial derivatives don't even exist. So that condition is only necessary but not sufficient. Okay. Let us define, like in one variable, we said the points where the function may not be differentiable, or the points which are interior points and the function is differentiable and derivative is equal to 0, those were called the critical points for the function of one variable. Same we do for a function of two variables. Function is given in a domain. Look at the points, interior points where the function either is not differentiable, in the sense partial derivatives don't exist, right? Either of the partial derivative does not exist, and second, both the partial derivative exist and are equal to 0. So these are the critical points for the function. These are the possible points where the function can have local maximum or local minimum. Of course, we have to put along with it the points which are for one variable n points in the interval. So similarly here, for a domain, we have to include the points where the function, the boundary points for the domain, right? So all these points put together will be the possible points where the function can have local maximum or local minimum. Boundary points, look at the interior points where the first one of the partial derivatives does not exist, right? Or both the partial derivatives exist and are equal to 0. So those are the critical points for the function, possible points. So I am listing it again, revising. So either fx or fy exists and is equal to 0. One or both of them do not exist. Okay. So now you can just state a corollary that for a function, local maximum minimum can occur only at critical points or the boundary points. Is that clear? That follows from the, obviously from the definitions that we have put, right? Like in one variable. So nothing more to be said. But like in one variable, again I am cautioning you that not every critical point will be a point of local maximum or local minimum. We have just now seen examples of that. Okay. So let us look at some more examples. Look at the example fxy is equal to x cube plus y4. So what is the value at 0, 0? Value at 0, 0 is 0. Okay. So let me try to draw a picture. So this is the value at 0, 0 is 0. Now in this, let us take a direction along x is 0. That means I want to move only along y-axis in the domain. So what will be the function? Fxy is equal to y to the power 4. So it will take positive values only. Right? But supposing I move along x-axis and put y equal to 0, then f of x is equal to x cube. Then it takes both positive and negative values. So from where can you deduce that the point 0, 0 is a point of local maximum? From this simple analysis by looking at the function only, can you deduce the point 0, 0 is a point of local maximum? If it is a point of local maximum, what should happen? There should be a neighborhood, right? There should be a neighborhood of 0, 0. So that whenever I take any point inside this, the value at that point should be less than or equal to the value at the point 0, 0. Then 0, 0 will be a point of local maximum, right? But if I move along the negative x-axis, then what are the values? They are negative, right? At 0, 0 the value is 0, so it goes below, right? And I can go above 0, 0 by taking x to be positive. So at the point 0, 0, surely it is not, howsoever small the neighborhood I take, I can go along negative x-axis or positive x-axis. Function takes both negative and positive values. The value at 0, 0 is 0. So I can surely say that the point 0, 0 is not a point of local maximum or local minimum, neither of it, right? Because the value at that point is 0, 0, and in no neighborhood I can say that the value 0, 0 is bigger than the value at every point in that neighborhood, or less than or equal to. So that is not a point of local maximum or local minimum. So what is happening? Actually this is a function which has the property that at 0, 0, howsoever small neighborhood I take, I can always either take a positive value or a negative value, right? So let us, so that's what I have written here, when y is equal to 0. And if you look at the derivatives, what are the critical points for this? Function is differentiable, partial derivatives exist everywhere. First partial derivative with respect to x is 3x squared, with respect to y is 4x cubed. What are the points? Possibly where can it have a local maximum or local minimum? 0, 0. And we have just now seen 0, 0 is not a point of local maximum or local minimum. So that says that the points, out of the critical points, not every point need to be a point of local maximum or local minimum. That happened in one variable also. And one of the questions in your mid-sem was of that type. The function x plus sin x. Yes? The function x plus sin x, look at the derivative is 1 plus cos x. It is equal to 0 at countably infinite number of points. But none of these points is a local maximum nor a local minimum. Because you are asked to prove the function is strictly increasing. Right? So that you will see in your tutorial classes how many have done that problem right. Okay. So let us come back to two variables. So this is the only critical point, and that is the point of neither local maximum nor local minimum. Okay. So the idea that it can take negative values and it can take positive values in any small neighborhood of 0, that is being written here mathematically now. Okay. So take any delta bigger than 0, then minus delta by 2 to 0, the part of negative part of x-axis from minus delta by 2 to 0 is inside that domain, right? Inside the ball, open ball of radius delta at 0, 0, and there the function takes negative values, right? That is how you will write mathematically that what you have described just now. And similarly, if you take 0 to delta on the positive side, howsoever small the delta may be, howsoever small the neighborhood may be, the function will take positive values also. Let us look at another similar example. F of xy is equal to x square minus y square. Here is more apparent actually. As you put x is equal to 0, it takes only negative values. As you put y equal to 0, it takes only positive values. Again, 0, 0 is not going to be a point of local maximum or local minimum. But the derivatives are 0 at that, first partial derivatives are 0 at that point. So 0, 0 is a critical point, but not a point of local maximum nor a point of local minimum. Okay? And so I have written that values when you put it equal to 0, y equal to 0 or x is equal to 0. So what is happening in this case? When you put x is equal to 0, what was your function? fxy equal to minus y square, right, as a function of y, one variable. Along that curve, f of x is equal to minus y square at the point 0, 0, what does it have as a function of one variable? f0 y, that is a function of one variable, equal to minus y to the power 4. All the values are negative, so at the point 0, 0, there is a point of local maximum as a function of one variable, a function of one variable y. If you look at a function of the variable x, then local. So along one curve passing through that point, it has local maximum. Along some other curve passing through that point, it has a local minimum. And that is a function something of this type. So for example, in this example, if this is a surface, if you look at this part of the curve, right, this part of the surface, if you move along this curve, this is a point of local minimum. But if you move along that other curve, then this is the point of local maximum. Such points are called saddle points for the function. So because this looks like the saddle you put on the horse to ride a horse, right? So the points which have this property are called saddle points. So let us define properly what are these points. So a function of two variables defined in a neighborhood D, a point P, a critical point, the point has to be first of all a critical point, is called a saddle point for the function if in the domain D, for every ball, howsoever ball you take around that point, there should be a point where the value of the function is less than or equal to the value of the function at that point, and some other point where the value is bigger than that point, like the function x square minus y4. The value at 0, 0 is 0, but howsoever small neighborhood I take, there is a point where the value is negative and the point where the value is positive. Howsoever small the neighborhood may be, I can find points P and Q, right? At one point the value is bigger, at the other point the value is smaller. So let us write that precisely. There exist points Q and R in the open ball such that f of Q is bigger than f of P is bigger than f of R, right? So there is a point, howsoever small the neighborhood may be, of the point P, there is a point Q where the value is strictly bigger than f of P, and there is a point where the value is strictly less than the value at that point. Such points are called saddle points for the function, right? So among the critical points, a point could be a point of local maximum, a point could be a point of local minimum, or it could be a saddle point, or it may not be anything, right? So this is a definition for a function to have a saddle point. So just now we said, look at x square minus y square, right? By definition alone, you can see that along y equal to 0, function will always take positive values. Along x is equal to 0, it will take negative values as before. So the point 0, 0 is going to be a point of neither local maximum nor local minimum, it is a saddle point. Similarly for f of xy equal to xy. I am just trying to say without using any condition about differentiability or derivatives or anything, right? Like our function of one variable, you had points of inflection. It is something similar coming here now. Okay? So saddle points are something parallel of points of inflection for one variable. So look at the function fxy at all points in R2. I can take a small neighborhood, right? Take any delta bigger than 0. X is equal to y. Move along the line. X is equal to y. Then what is the function? F of x is equal to x square. So it will always take positive values. And that line passes through the point 0, 0. You can come as close to 0 as you want. So for points as close to 0, 0, there are points in the domain where the function takes positive values. If you want it negative, what you should do? Say y equal to minus x. So it will be minus x square, right? Along that line, it will take arbitrarily small negative values, right? So the point 0, 0 is again a point of, it is a saddle point, right? It is not a point of local maximum, nor point of local minimum. But if you like to calculate, you can calculate partial derivatives and see both are equal to, right? Partial derivatives 0, 0 is a critical point, okay? Let us look at one more example. I am just giving you a lot of examples so the idea is to settle down. Look at the function fxy is equal to 2x square y plus yx square. It is again defined at all points. Okay? Yes? What is 3x square? Oh. Okay. 2x square y plus yx square, right? Sorry. Let me understand what I am saying. Everybody will keep quiet.
X square y and x square y. It should be y square x. Y square x.
Oh, okay. Good. So you have spotted a typo, but let us consider this function itself anyway. Okay, so what is this function? So do you think the point 0, 0 is the point of local maximum or local minimum? Yes? So this is equal to, okay? So I ask you, the new question has come up. So do you think 0, 0 is a point of, at the point at 0, 0 the value is 0, right? Yes? Saddle point? Y. Okay, everybody will keep quiet. Somebody from this side, yes? Along which curve you are moving? Along any y. So let us move along y equal to x square. That passes through 0, 0. Right? If I move along y equal to x square, then the function will take arbitrarily small positive values. Y equal to x. Right. So then it will take both positive and negative values. Right? As x is positive, it will take positive values. If x is negative, it will take negative values along the curve y equal to x. So that means 0, 0 is not a point of local maxima or a minima. That is again a saddle point for the function which I wrote wrongly or not wrongly. It was meant to be some other example. For this example also it is not a saddle point. Good. Is it okay for everybody? Everybody satisfied that this function, which is 3x square y at 0, 0 is a critical point, does not have local maximum, does not have local minimum, that is a saddle point. Okay. So let us go over this, finish this example. Okay. Now we would like to, in function of one variable, we defined local maximum, we defined local minimum, we defined also points of inflection, and then we said if we have some more information about the function, right, you know the function is continuous or the function is differentiable or the second derivative exists, that gives you ways of testing, ways of analyzing critical points to show whether the point is a point of local maximum, local minimum or a point of a saddle point. So we like to have what are called derivative tests for functions of two variables also, which will help us to analyze among the critical points which are the points which can be, I can say surely it is a point of local maximum, I can say surely it is a point of local maximum, local minimum, or it is a saddle point. So those are going to be sufficient conditions to ensure that a critical point is a point of local maximum, local minimum or a saddle points. Like function of one variable, first derivative equal to 0 was, that was for a point of local maximum minimum, that was a necessary condition. But what was the sufficient condition for in terms of derivative? On the left something happens, on the right something happens, right? First derivative is positive on the left, that means function is increasing on the left. First derivative is negative on the right, so function is decreasing, so the point must be a point of local maximum or local minimum, right? So knowledge about the derivative help you to analyze the local points of local maximum or local minimum. Same thing we want to do for a function of two variables. So let us look at a function of two variable fxy. x0 is 0, y0 is interior points. Recall in function of one variable also we only looked at interior points, right? Because derivative is equal to 0, that necessary condition was only for interior points. And let us assume that the second order partial derivatives of this function exist. Let us define a quantity called discriminant of this function at a point x0, y0. That involves second order partial derivatives. It is a determinant of the numbers second order partial derivative with respect to x, second order partial derivative with respect to y. So along the diagonal, the entries are second order partial derivatives with respect to x and y. These are the mixed partial derivatives fxy and fyx. So 2 by 2 determinant. Okay. So this number is called the discriminant of the function at the point x0, y0. It varies as the point varies. Okay. In terms of this number, we are going to describe what are called. Let us make one observation here. What is this equal to? Fxx, fyy minus fxy into fyx at that point. But supposing you put nice conditions on your function that the mixed partial derivatives are equal, then the hassle of keeping track, which is the fxy or fyx, will be gone. So let us make an assumption that our function is such that the first and second order partial derivatives exist in a neighborhood of that point and are continuous, so that the mixed partial derivatives are equal. In that case, this discriminant, I can write it as equal to this. Now in this, observe, supposing the left hand side is not equal to 0. Supposing the left hand side is not equal to 0, right? Then what can you say about the signs of fxx and fyy? What should happen? If the left hand side is not 0, both of them should have same sign. Is it clear to everybody? This equation says if the left hand side is not 0, if the discriminant of the function at that point is not 0, then the fxx and fyy at that point will have the same sign from here. Is that clear? Yes? Okay. So keep that in mind. We'll use it. Okay? So if that is positive, then we must have the. Yes? Why they should have the same sign? I wanted somebody to ask. Okay. Now let us put an extra condition. Not only it is not 0, it is actually positive. Now it's okay? See, now you will never forget, right? That if the discriminant is strictly bigger than 0, then fxx and fyy will have the same sign. Why this is important? Because the condition is, I am going to state, is going to involve fxx or fyy, sign of that derivative. So we'll say one of them has a particular sign, then automatically the other one will have the same sign. You don't have to specify again. Okay? So keep that in mind. Whenever the discriminant is strictly positive, then the mixed partial, the second order partial derivative with respect to x and y will have the same sign. So now let us state the conditions under which, the first of all, f should be such that the both first and second order partial derivatives of f exist and are continuous in a neighborhood. Right? That blanket assumption ensures you that nothing goes wrong. Mixed order partial derivatives are equal. Actually, the function is also differentiable. It says that. Now we are going to analyze local maxima, minima, or saddle points. Right? And these are the points which are out of the critical points only. So the first condition should be the first order partial derivative at x0 and y0 should be equal to 0, like function of one variable. First derivative is equal to 0, then among them whether they are points of local maxima or minima. First derivative test, second derivative test. So first partial derivatives at these points are equal. So the first condition says, suppose that the discriminant is positive and the partial derivative fxx is also negative. Is not also, is negative. Then automatically it will imply that fyy also is. So you can say either of the condition is okay, enough. Okay? One of them is enough. You say that discriminant is positive, but the second order partial derivative with respect to x is negative, or with respect to y is negative, then it says that the function has a local maximum at that point. Perfectly similar to one variable. Right? There was second derivative going, right? If the second derivative at that point is negative, then the function was having local, yes, local maximum. Is it okay? Function of one variable, same thing here. Second is a second derivative condition, less than 0, it says the point of local maximum. Okay? And that condition is same, but the second derivative is bigger than 0, then it says it has a point of local minimum. So when the second derivative is positive, right, there are two possibilities, both of them are positive or both of them are negative. Now what could be a next possible case to analyze? Discriminant is equal to 0 or negative. Two cases left. So when it is negative, it says it must be a saddle point. If the discriminant is negative, then the function has a saddle point. And when it is equal to 0, you cannot conclude anything. Function may have local maximum, may have local minimum, may have saddle point, anything is possible. Means the sufficient conditions fail, the test fails. Like for function of one variable, second derivative is equal to 0 does not tell you anything, right? You may have to go to further derivatives in one variable also. So same thing happens here. So discriminant positive, two cases are right. F of xx positive, f of xx negative. If it is positive, it is a local minimum. If it is negative, it is a local maximum. If the discriminant itself is negative, then it is a point of local, is a point, saddle point. And if it is equal to 0, the test fails, anything is possible. Okay, we will not prove this test. Okay, the proof involves a bit of linear algebra and other things. So we'll assume this and try to apply it to various situations. Okay. So let us look at the function fxy is equal to 4xy minus x4 minus y4 for xy belonging to R. So what should be your first step? You want to analyze this function for points of local maxima, right, and saddle points. Like in one variable, first find the critical points. The function is defined, this should be R2. The function is defined everywhere, right? So no question of boundaries at all. Is this function differentiable? Partial derivatives exist everywhere for this function? Yes? It's a polynomial function, so no problem. Partial derivatives exist. So the only possible points where the function can have local maxima or critical points are the points where first derivative equal to 0 with respect to x and first derivative with respect to y equal to 0. So let us solve those equations and find out. Okay. So find out the first partial derivative, that is this. Second, first partial derivative with respect to y, that is this. Put them equal to 0 and solve and get those points. Both simultaneous equations, right? Both equations must be equal to 0. So that gives you the points 0, 0, 1, 1 and minus 1, minus 1. So 3 points are there. So now either I can just simply try to do without any knowledge about second order derivatives or anything. I can just try to straight away try to analyze this. Okay? I like what we did for functions of, like we did for earlier, saddle points and so on. Like in the neighborhood, whether it takes the positive values, negative values and so on. Because at 0, 0 the value is. But the problem will come if you want to analyze at 1, 1, that naive way of analyzing whether there is a local maxima or minima will not be of much help. So you will see that derivative tests are useful. So let us compute the second order derivatives with respect to this. Fxx is minus 12x square. Okay, this computation fyy. Okay. So let us find the discriminant at a point x0, y0. So that comes out this. Now we will analyze this at the 3 points 0, 0, 1, 1 and minus 1, minus 1. So one by one analyze at 0, 0. So this becomes 0, it is negative. So discriminant becomes negative. That is the third case in the theorem, right? That means it is a saddle point. I don't have to do anything else. Let us look at the point 1, 1. At 1, 1 and minus 1, minus 1, you see it becomes 128, which is bigger than 0. So discriminant is bigger than 0. So there is a possibility, right? Now it will have a local maximum or a local minimum depending on the nature of the sign of fxx or fyy, whichever you want to analyze. So let us analyze fxx at 1, 1 and minus 1 is minus 12. That is less than 0. So both these points are points of local maximum. Okay. If you like, you could have analyzed that point 0, 0 along some curves also. Here is, I am just giving you an additional, here it becomes very simple to analyze as a discriminant test because at the point 0, 0 it becomes negative saddle point. But here is another way of analyzing it. Along y equal to x, it takes positive values, and along x equal to minus y, it takes negative values. So you can analyze at 0, 0. 0, 0, the problem can be analyzed very simply by looking at some nice curves passing through 0, 0, where function will take positive or negative values. So sometimes it is very easy to analyze. So that is a direct application. For example, let us take this function. So the derivative at 0, 0 is 0. So 0, 0 is a critical point. What is the second order derivative? Let us compute the second order partial derivatives of this. Right? It is clear that this function has a local maximum at that point because of negative sign. Right? 0, 0 the value is 0, at every point the value is less than 0. So it is a point of local maximum, that is clear. Let us analyze. The first derivative comes out to be equal to 0. What about the discriminant? Oh, I have not done the discriminant for this. Okay. Probably, I think take it as exercise. Try to see whether by the discriminant test, this also you can say at the point 0, 0, it is a point of local maximum or not. Okay. Let us look at another example. 4x cube y minus 4y x cube, at 0, 0 the value is 0. You can analyze along some different curves, right? I am again and again giving many examples so that you understand that it's not always necessary that you should always use a derivative test, right? Normally the tendency is immediately go for a derivative test. Sometimes it is more intuitive to do in a naive way by looking at curves. So you can look at along the curve, which is y is equal to t by 2, right? X t is t, y t is minus t. Okay, the values, it will take negative values. Okay, and similarly you can look at along y equal to t by 2 plus t by 2 minus t by 2. So that's something similar that we have done. Okay, so this is a saddle point. So see, like I am trying to give you at the point 0, 0, right? You can apply these tests and analyze whether it is saddle point, local maxima or a local minima by analyzing the discriminant, the sign of the derivative. Now, after having analyzed local maxima minima, what was the next thing we wanted to do? When try to apply this knowledge to find out absolute maximum and absolute minimum for the function, right? After all, if at a point there is an absolute maximum, then it is also a local maximum. Also, if it is a absolute minimum, then it is also a point of local minimum also, right? So, to find out a point where a function can have local maximum or a absolute maximum or a absolute minimum, first we have to ensure that the function has absolute maximum or minimum. So, if you recall, we stated a condition that if a function is defined in a domain which is closed and bounded, then it positively will have it will have absolute maximum and absolute minimum. How to find it? Now these tools help us how to find it. So what we will do, we will look at all the critical points of that function, right? We will look at also the boundary points, right, for the domain, and analyze. We will calculate the values of the function at those points and compare whichever is the largest value, that has to be the absolute maximum. Whichever is the smallest has to be the absolute minimum, because that is guaranteed. So that is what it says. So let us just define what is called absolute maximum and absolute minimum. So a point A in the domain is called absolute maximum if f of A is bigger than fxy for all points xy in the domain. Now it is all absolute, right? Local means in a neighborhood. And similarly, if f of xy is bigger than f of b, then the point f of b is called absolute minimum for the function. Okay? So that number is called absolute. The value f of b is called the absolute minimum for the function. So once again I am saying that one of the sufficient conditions to ensure that the function has absolute maxima and absolute minima is sufficient conditions. Keep in mind that the domain is closed and bounded and the function is continuous. But that does not mean if either the domain is not closed and bounded, the function cannot have absolute maximum or absolute minimum. For example, you look at the constant function. Look at the constant function defined over whole of R2, right? Then it has absolute maximum. That value is absolute maximum everywhere. It has absolute minimum also, right? The domain, which is whole of R2, is closed, but it is not bounded. Constant function is continuous, right? So this is only sufficient condition, not necessary. So as I said just now, that the function will assume its absolute maximum at a point, then either A is a boundary point of it or it has to be a critical point in D. And similarly for the absolute minimum. So to find absolute maximum and absolute minimum for a function, what you should do? Look at the boundary points, look at the critical points, find out the values of the function at all these points and compare, right? So let us look at So proof, there is nothing much to say, it is just English only. So let us just skip. Because if it is not a boundary point, absolute, it must be an interior point. And an interior point, absolute maximum is also a local maximum. So, right, it must be a critical point. The derivatives must be equal to 0. So that is okay. Right. So as I said, this is only, we compare the values, and so whatever I just now said, I am just showing it to you. Let us look at some examples. So let us look at how to compute. Domain is xy belonging to R2, so that mod x is less than or equal to 2, mod y is less than or equal to 2. So what is the domain? Mod x less than or equal to 2, mod y less than or, so it is a rectangle or is a square, right, centered at origin of length minus 2 and plus 2 on either side. And this is the function we want to analyze, whether it has what. This is a function, this is a polynomial function, so it is continuous. Domain is closed and bounded. We have included the boundary less than or equal to 2. So domain is closed bounded, the function is continuous, so it will have absolute maximum and it will have absolute minimum. Now we want to find it. So how will you find it? Analyze the function separately on the boundary. What is the boundary of this domain? The 4 sides of the square, that is the boundary. These are not the points now, right? They are curves. And the interior of the square. So let us analyze. For the interior of the square, we have to only find the points where the first derivatives are equal to 0. Analyze the values there. At the boundaries, you see, in this case, the boundaries become nice because one of the variable becomes a constant. So the function on the boundary is a function of one variable only. So you can find what is absolute maximum or absolute minimum of the function on the boundary by using your tools of one variable, right? So let us do that. So first derivative, second derivative, right, equal to 0, give you those 3 points that we have already seen. Okay. Now, out of this is a boundary point if, right, square of side minus 2 and plus 2. So x0 is equal to 2, x0 is equal to minus 2, right? The vertical lines, boundary. And then the horizontal lines where y is equal to 2 and y equal to minus 2. So putting those values, we have to analyze the function. So let us analyze, because the domain is symmetric, right? I can forget about analyzing it on minus y. It will be similar analysis. Values will be same, right? Sometimes that is useful. If you know the function is symmetric around something, only on one side you can analyze the function and still get absolute maximum and absolute minimum. Or if you like, you can do it over the all. So let us quickly do it. So I am fixing x is equal to 2 on the right side, the vertical line of the square boundary. f2y, the function is 8y minus 8 minus y4, y between minus 2 and plus 2, function of one variable only. So analyze, how will you analyze? Similarly on the second, for y equal to 2, this is the function, functions of one variable you can analyze for maximum and minimum using one variable tools. So all this is worked out. So the f2y has a local absolute maximum at the point y is equal to cube root of 2. I just written the answer. You please check it, do it yourself because it's a one variable thing. And absolute minimum, put the value of the function, that point, put the value of that point y in the definition of the function to get the absolute minimum at y equal to, okay. Similarly for x is equal to, y equal to 2 fixed is the function of one variable, analyze and find out, and the analysis says it has absolute maximum at the point x is equal to 2 and absolute minimum at the point. So functions of one variable only you will be analyzing on the boundary, okay. So that is the main point. So now you find out the values at all these points, f00, f11, f2, cube root of 2, right, put the values and compare. So from here you can see which is the largest value, that is absolute maximum, which is the smallest value, that is the absolute minimum, and at what points it is attained, okay. So as I said earlier, we have ignored the points 1, minus 1 because the value comes out to be same. Function is symmetry whether if you change x, y to minus x, minus y. So compare and spot which is the largest value, which is the smallest value. So is attained at the points 1 and minus 1, and the absolute minimum is minus 40. Is it okay? Yes? Try to understand the technique. Computation you can sit down and you do yourself. For a function of two variables to find absolute maximum or absolute minimum in a domain, right? First you have to ensure it exists. Okay? First you have to ensure that it exists. For example, even for a function of one variable, if you take the function y equal to x square, it has absolute minimum, but it does not have absolute maximum. Fx is equal to x square. At 0 there will be absolute minimum. So it is not necessary that the function always will have absolute maximum and absolute minimum. Continuity plus domain is close bounded gives you sufficient conditions for the function to have absolute maximum and absolute minimum. Or sometimes your domain or function or the problem may be such, by looking at the problem you can say that yes, the function will have absolute maximum, or supposing you are trying to find a function which is bigger than or equal to 0, right? And you say that you want to show that the function has the absolute minimum. The function is non-negative, right? It is always bigger than or equal to 0. So if you are able to find one value which is minimum value, that has to be the, you can ensure that it will have absolute to minimum, because it doesn't go below, there is a bound. Below 0 it does not go. Is it clear to everybody? So sometimes by looking at the problem you can ensure without continuity or without saying domain is close bounded that this problem will have absolute maximum or absolute minimum. Let me look at one more example to show you this happens. So the problem is you are given a triangle, okay, and what you want to do, you want to look at the product of the sines, sin x, sin y, and third angle is z, right? But z is equal to 180 minus x plus y. So this is a function of two variables, and you want to say that this function has a absolute maximum, and you want to find what values of x and y will give you absolute maximum. So can you ensure that this function will always have an absolute maximum? Yes? One is, of course, this function is continuous, of course, on a close bounded domain. That is one way. But even if you look at this way, right, sin x, sin is less than or equal to 1, it is bounded, right? So let us try to analyze by our methods that this has the absolute maximum and we want to find them. So what you will do, along the this is equal to 0 if x or y or x plus y equal to 0 or pi, right? What is the value? Just look at the sign of product of sines, right? Let me just go back and look. This is a function sin x, sin y and sin x plus y, right? X and y both are between x plus y, all the angles are between 0 and pi. One angle could be obtuse, that doesn't matter. So the first observation is this function is equal to 0. When will that happen? One of the terms is equal to 0. So either x is equal to 0 or y is equal to 0 or x plus y is equal to 0 or of course equal to pi. So what are these things? Why I am analyzing, right? Why I am analyzing these things? Because these are the boundary cases, right? X and y both are bigger than or equal to 0, less than or equal to pi, right? So the boundary, the value is 0. So I don't have to worry about the boundary things. All you have to only look at only interior points for this problem. Is that clear? So the boundary is already taken care of because of this condition, right? So other points, that is inside the interior points, find out the derivatives and put them equal to 0. And once you want to do that, right, that gives you two equations, because sin x, sin y, sin of x plus y, look at the partial derivative with respect to x, look at the partial derivative with respect to y, and put them equal to 0, and you want to solve these equations, right? And you know that x is not equal to 0, y is not equal to 0, and they are between 0 and pi. So you can cancel out terms, you can divide, and what is left from here, you had sin of 2x plus y equal to 0, that is equal to sin of 2y plus x. So these two equations, right, using your sign formulas give you that. So these equal to 0. So, and this is the condition. So what do you get? What are the equations? This must be equal to 0, that must be equal to 0. So that gives you the values, right, because they are between 0 and pi. So you get these are equal to 0. So x is equal to y equal to pi by 3. Pi? What is equal to pi? Oh yeah, this one, right, okay, right. X plus y is less than pi. Okay. So the angle is pi by 3. So there is the equilateral triangle which will give you the product sin x, sin y. So basically this whole technical thing, computation, you can do it yourself also. The point I was making was, by looking at the problem, you can say the function has a absolute maximum, right? So you ensure that. Then if you want to find out, see, if you don't ensure that, you may find out all the points of local maximum, minimum, and say that this is the largest value and that has to be the absolute maximum, but that may not be, right? Because we are looking at only the interior points and the boundary points. Among them only the local absolute maximum and absolute minima can happen. That too, if you ensure that the function has absolute maxima or absolute minima. That has to be ensured by looking at the problem or by stating the condition that the function is continuous and the domain is a closed bounded interval, right? So is it clear? So what we have done is we have defined local maxima, local minima, saddle points for the function of two variables, right? Local maxima is maximum in a neighborhood, local minima, it is minimum in a neighborhood. Saddle point where the function is neither local maximum nor local minimum, in the sense that the value at that point, whatever neighborhood you take of that, there is a point where the value is below that value, and there is also a point where the value is above that value, right? So a point P is a saddle point if for every neighborhood there is a point, say Q, and a point R in that neighborhood, so that f of Q is bigger than f of P is bigger than f of R, right? There are points, howsoever close you go, where the value is less and more. You cannot say it is a local maximum or, yet both are possible and both happen, so that is a saddle point. Then we looked at ways of analyzing. Many times you can find a curve through that point along which it takes values bigger than that or less than that. More often than not, that is useful when the function takes the value 0 at that point. Then we had a second derivative test. There is only one test possible for functions of two variables that we have stated, that is the second derivative test. Namely, you assume that the partial derivatives first and second order exist and are continuous. That will ensure that the mixed partial derivatives are equal. Then you calculate what is called the discriminant of the function, right? And look at the critical points, fx is equal to 0, fy equal to 0. Analyze the sign of discriminant at these critical points, okay? Wherever the discriminant is positive and the second derivative fxx is positive, then the function has a local maximum. If discriminant is positive, fxx is less than 0, then the function has local minimum. If the discriminant itself is negative, then the function has a saddle point. When it is equal to 0, anything is possible. Function may have or may not have local maxima, minima, or saddle points. And then, like in one variable, we use these techniques to compute absolute maximum and absolute minimum for functions of two variables, right? So I think it's time to stop.